Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey there, and welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. This is your host, Becky. And it's episode 54 today, and it's also the 1-year anniversary episode of Event Crushed, which is so crazy. I really just don't know how it's been a year. Like it flew by. I feel like I just started podcasting. I posted on Threads recently, like I don't feel 100% comfortable calling myself a podcaster still, but I've literally put an episode out every single week, except for maybe 1 or 2 weeks for an entire year. So that's pretty wild to think about. I think I can call myself a podcaster, don't you think? But I am so excited to do this celebratory anniversary episode, and it's just going to be me today. I have a few different things I'm going to share with you and just kind of reminisce a little bit about the past year, share some highlights and hot takes from some of my favorite episodes, share some things I've learned on this journey, and some listener feedback and things like that. So I hope that you'll tune in for the whole episode. I think it's going to be just a fun listen, and it should be pretty quick too. So yeah, that's what's going on today. And I just want to say thank you if you're listening right now. Thank you. Thank you to anyone who's tuned in, whether you're a brand new listener who just found the podcast recently, or if you are someone who's been listening week after week for this whole year. Like, it just means the world to me to have your support and that you would come back week after week. I just think it's so cool to have this place to have these awesome conversations with other wedding pros that I look up to and that I just get to learn from them and share what I'm learning with you all. So in thinking back to a year ago, it was May 3rd of 2024 that I posted on Instagram and told the world basically about my podcast. And at that point, I had 3 episodes that were in there that I think technically I had uploaded those on April 30th, but nobody knew about it until May 3rd. And so I'm recording this on May 2nd of 2025. So technically tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary, but this won't be coming out until Wednesday of next week. So it'll be a little, a few days later, but that's quite all right. But in thinking back to that time, I was truly so nervous to hit publish and to share that I had started a podcast, because I'd kind of been hinting at some things of oh, I have some exciting news to share. And a couple of people actually guessed that it was a podcast, but I just didn't. You just never know when you try something new. When you put something new out into the world, you never know how it's going to be accepted. And if people are going to look at you and think what is this girl doing? Why does she think that she can start a podcast? And so I was definitely dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome at that time, even though at that point I was a well-established wedding planner of 12 years and had a ton of experience under my belt. I had credentials to back it up. It's not like I'm just a random person who's just wanting to make myself look important. I really wanted to share all the things I've learned over the years with others so that they could avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made. And I wanted to talk and have conversations with other wedding pros and be able to share those and help people. So that's really the foundation of why I started. But you never know. You just never know how people are going to perceive you and perceive the things that you do. And so I definitely struggled with just, what am I doing? Why do I think that I can start a podcast? So I remember that feeling, but I hit publish anyway. And I, got started with those first 3 episodes. And the initial response was amazing. There was a lot of excitement around it. And it was just a great way to kick off this new adventure. I was just listening back to that first episode which the first episode I did was just called The Girl Behind the Podcast. And it was kind of my story, why I'm starting the podcast, what I've been doing over these last 12 years, and a little bit about myself and my life, and just, my backstory in the wedding industry. And I remember recording that episode and I was so nervous. But it's fun to listen back to it now. I think over time I have gotten more confident with recording, which is great. I was hoping that at this point I would look back on my journey in podcasting and see improvements, and I do. So that's great. There are things I feel like I certainly need to work on still. Like I'm still editing out a lot of likes and ums, but I think as a whole, I have improved as an interviewer and just as a podcaster in general. But when I was listening to that episode, I remembered that I had listed out some things that had kind of held me back from starting the podcast sooner and how I overcame them to finally do it and make it happen. And so some of those things I talked about were like, oh, I don't have the time to do it. I don't have experience podcasting. I don't have a good voice for podcasting. I don't, talk the way that a podcaster does. And then the other one was, I'm not knowledgeable enough, or like, who do I think I am to come out here and call myself an educator and all these things. But looking back now, I'm so glad that I fought through those things and that I was able to put aside the fears that I had and make it happen. And so I'm going to circle back to this a little bit later, but I just kind of wanted to share like how glad I am that I was able to feel the fear and do it anyway. I think that is such a huge part of growth. We know how important getting out of our comfort zones are. And for me, this was a huge step outside of my comfort zone. But looking back now, I can see what a great step it was for me in growth in a lot of different ways. I'm so happy that I've been able to put out an episode just about every single week for an entire year. And I'm very excited and looking forward to another year of podcasting. Honestly, the fact that I was able to put out a podcast episode starting in May of last year. So for me, May is like right before wedding season. It's like right as wedding season is ramping up. So the fact that not only did I put an episode out every single week, I did it during my busiest time of year. I did it during wedding season. And I just remember thinking to myself, if I can do this, if I can put out an episode every single week, recording, editing, researching, like all the things that go into each episode, if I can do that in the middle of wedding season and be consistent with it, like I can do anything. And so that was just a cool realization, because I think we just tell ourselves like, oh, I could never do that. I could never find the time. I could never, I don't know. We just tell ourselves these stories and then we believe them, and it holds us back from doing the things that could be really fruitful or really beneficial in our lives. And so I hope that you'll hear this and maybe you'll think or you'll recognize something in your own life that you maybe have thought about or have considered, but you told yourself a story and you said, oh no, I can't do that. I could never find the time in my schedule, or I could never put in the work to make it happen. And if you want to make something happen, then you absolutely can. You just have to prioritize it. And I think for me, it was just moving around priorities. I had also, right before I started the podcast, I had just sold my event rental company. And so that is part of the reason that I felt ready, because I opened up a new pocket of time in my schedule. I had a lot more time, honestly. And so I filled it with the podcast. If you haven't listened to that first episode and you ever want to just hear more about my story, I do recommend going back and listening to episode number 1, because that's where I shared a bit about all my background. So that's there if you want to give it a listen. And then when I finally really thought about starting the podcast, I mentioned it to my business coach, who you've heard me talk about before. I've had her on the podcast too. She was on episode 48 of the podcast, where she talked about email marketing and all of her expertise in that. So she has an incredible podcast called The Power in Purpose that I've been listening to for years. And so when I mentioned to her about starting a podcast, her initial reaction was like, oh yeah, totally. Like you should totally start a podcast. And to hear her say that just solidified for me, like, okay, well, if Candace says it, then like I should do it. Cause she's not the kind of person to like just blow smoke up your butt. Like she means what she says. And so for her to say that to me, I was like, okay, all right, let's do it. And then I just remember those early days. It was really fun because Andrew was helping me a lot because he had so much sound equipment already. He had microphones, he had cameras, he had software, all this different stuff. And so because of that, it really made the transition into podcasting pretty smooth and seamless for me. And it was fun just trying out different microphones and things and learning from him because he just has like a passion for sound. And so it was really fun to learn from him. I will say, though, that he was probably super annoyed by me at some points because he wanted me to do like sound checks on the different microphones to hear how they sound and then like have me pick my favorite one. And I just hated doing sound checks so much. Like I never knew what to say. Like I would just be like testing, testing. So then he started having me read whatever was around. Like I would just pick up like the notepad or like the back of a book and just start reading it off. And I don't know. It was funny. I have a lot of fun memories from those early days when I was just figuring it all out and getting it going. And now it's like once you get it down, you get it down and you just have a seamless process. And so I'm very grateful for that because it doesn't take a ton of brain power to put out each week's episode. I have a lot of tools that help me out. And if ever anyone listening is like interested in starting a podcast, feel free to reach out to me because as someone who, it's relatively new, I did it within the last year. I love talking about it and I'm happy to share all the things that I have learned over this past year and all the different tools and resources that I use. Like I'm more than happy to share that with you. Okay, so moving on from here, I just wanted to share a couple of just nice, kind words about the podcast that I've received. And I just want to say, like, every time you send me a DM or an email about how an episode helped you, or I've just gotten some of the sweetest DMs over the last several months. And it's so encouraging to read them because sometimes you put out an episode and you don't hear anything and you're like, I hope this helps somebody. I hope that somebody hears this and is encouraged by it. And I want to tell you as somebody who's been on the other side now as a podcaster, like how important it is to tell the people how you've impacted them. Because I have been an avid podcast listener for years and years, and I never used to leave podcast reviews. I never used to reach out to anyone about their episode, even if it was amazing. Like I wouldn't really do anything about it other than like take the information and use it. But I wasn't necessarily like letting the podcaster know. And I just have come to appreciate it so much now. And so I try to leave reviews for my favorite podcasts and reach out to them about an episode or share. I love to share on Instagram when I listen to a really good episode. So I just want to encourage you. I'm not saying for my podcast specifically, but any podcast that you listen to that you get something from, that you find value in, take a minute, leave them a review, send them a DM and just say, hey, this episode really helped me. And I just want to thank you. Send them an email. Like if they send a weekly newsletter about that episode, like respond to that email and just tell them if it had something that was helpful to you, like let them know. It's such a small act, but it makes such a huge difference. And so I just wanted to, again, thank those of you who have done that. It means the world to me and it helps me like keep going. It helps me to feel motivated. Like, okay, even if this helps one person, it's worth it. I mean that. Being able to help one person with an episode makes it all worthwhile. And so I'm going to read a couple of reviews. This one is from Taryn Nancy Photography. She said, I love this podcast and have learned so much already from it. Becky gives amazing, actionable tips for wedding professionals and has such a smooth flow for her episodes. Everyone she has interviewed so far has brought amazing insight and knowledge. Can't wait for more. Super sweet. Thank you, Taryn. This one is from Christina. She said, just sat at my desk and binged on the first 5 episodes and now have discovered so many great tools and tips. Trust me, you can't find this level of info on Google. I've tried. Nikki said, this is a great podcast for wedding pros of all levels and types. As a photographer, I have enjoyed hearing the perspective of a planner and have found all of these episodes really helpful. And I'll just read one more from Paige. She says, as a wedding pro new to the industry, I always feel so inspired after each episode. I appreciate Becky's positive and knowledgeable approach. I have gotten so much refreshing insight from this podcast. So thank you so much for just leaving the great reviews. Like I said, they mean the world. And I wanted to pull up, let me see if I can find it. I'm going to share just one DM that I got that was so kind, and I just appreciate it so much. So this was from a wedding pro. She is a photo booth owner, and she said, I just listened to your podcast on ghosting and really appreciated your perspective on it. It was so informational, and as I have already used some of your advice, it was confirmation that I was on the right road. Thank you. Going to look into Own Your Business and looking to use more closing emails like the magic email to help potential clients respond or not respond to our last communication. Thank you again. You're awesome and doing wonderful things to help our community out. Can't wait to hear more podcasts. So it probably just took her a minute or two to send that message, but it had a huge impact on me. And so again, I'm not saying that you need to go and leave a review on my podcast or anything, but for any podcast that you listen to, I would just encourage you to tell that person if they have an impact on you. All right. So moving on from here, I wanted to share some of the top episodes over this last year. The number 1 episode is, and this makes me laugh, honestly. I'll tell you why in a minute. But the top episode was with Adriana of Ava and the Bee. It was Demystifying SEO for Wedding Pros. This was episode 21 of the podcast. And Adriana is amazing. I loved talking with her. Like, I would love to have her back on sometime because I just love her approach, and like, she's so knowledgeable and she's been in it for a long time. Whenever she posts on Instagram, I'm like, yes, like I am just with her on a lot of her perspectives. And I think we see very eye to eye, and I love this episode. But the reason I'm laughing is because at one point in the podcast editing process, I had asked Andrew, my husband, if he could take over the content editing. Like, we were going to try it out because up until that point, he like mixes and produces the podcast. So he adds in the music, he changes the sound levels, he like makes it sound good. He takes out like breath noises, things like that. So he makes it sound really great. And then I just do all the editing of like taking out and filler and cutting out sections that I need to cut out, that kind of thing. But at this point, I had asked him, or we were playing around with having him do all the content editing. Like, he was going to do the full editing of the podcast. And so he did a few episodes, and then I don't know what happened, but this episode, when I sent it to him to like edit and produce it, he didn't edit it for content. I think I had removed a section that I needed to or something, but he didn't remove any likes or at all. And I didn't notice it or realize it until the morning that I was going to post this episode. And so I go to post it and I'm like listening to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm saying like so much. What is happening? Why? And he's like, oh, I didn't edit it. And at that point, it was already out there. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm just going to leave it. And then Adriana is so sweet, and she shared it on her newsletter. She shared it to Instagram. Like, she was really wonderful with sharing the podcast, because not everybody shares their episode, which is fine. There's no expectation. I appreciate it a lot when people do, but at the same time, like, I get it. So whatever. But she was really, really great with sharing the episode. And so that one got the most listens of all, which I just think is hysterical, because the people who found it from Adriana probably listened to that one episode and they were like, oh, I'm never listening to this again. Because this girl, like, I don't know. I think that's so funny. But it's an amazing episode. You should listen to it, and you can laugh at the non-editing of it. Anyways, the second most downloaded episode was episode 45, which was with Taylor of NG, and it was the Market Smarter, Not Harder episode. I loved this one so much. I love Taylor's energy, and she just shared so much great, like just truth bombs about marketing, and it was so good. So that's one that, like, if you have not listened to that, you absolutely should. She also was really great about sharing it, which probably helps explain why the numbers are higher. And another thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, how I'm celebrating my 1 year podcast anniversary. NG is also celebrating their 2 year anniversary this week. So in the month of May, you can use my link, which I will include in the show notes, and you can get NG for just $19 a month for 6 months, but you have to sign up in the month of May. And so that is available to you. I just wanted to share it. If you've been like thinking about NG, I know people talk about it a lot, and it's for a reason. It's because it's such an incredible marketing tool. And so if you've even just thought of it or you've heard of it and wanted to look into it more, now is the time. And you can sign up for a free trial to give it a whirl first. And then if you subscribe in May, you'll just get it for $19 a month, which is such a fantastic deal. The third most downloaded episode was actually my first episode, The Girl Behind the Podcast, which I guess that makes sense because I think a lot of people started with that one. And I've noticed like that number has continued to increase over time. So I think it's cool. Like, I think when people discover the podcast, because everyone's different. Some people, if they discover a new podcast and it has like hundreds of episodes, they just start with the most recent ones and like go from there. And then some people go all the way back to the beginning and like listen to the whole thing, which I love that. And I think that people have done that and like gone back to the first one and listened to that and then gone from there, which is so cool. And I just really appreciate. So if that's you, thank you. Okay, so that's the top 3 episodes so far. This next section is kind of fun. It's some rapid fire favorites. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. These are courtesy of my dear friend ChatGPT. So that's where I got these categories from, in case you're curious. The first one is favorite solo episode. And that was kind of hard because I've had a few, like that DM that I got about the ghosting episode. Like, I really liked that episode and I got some great feedback from it. So that one's up there. I think I would have to say my favorite solo episode would be my Disney episode. It was called Happiest Clients on Earth, Disney Secrets for Wedding Pros. That was episode 39. I loved this one because, one, I love Disney. Like, I'm a huge Disney nerd. And so getting to combine 2 things that I love so much, weddings, the wedding industry, and Disney, into one conversation was the best. And I just did a lot of research for it. I listened to an audiobook and I read another book, and I just did a lot of like preparation for that. And it was just super fun to talk about. And I felt like it was very practical too. And I had a wedding pro friend reach out and say, your Disney episode is next level. I am just listening to it and feeling so inspired. So I hope that other people felt that way when they listened to it too. Cause I don't know. I just loved it. So that's probably my single favorite if I had to pick one. Favorite guest episode. That was hard because I've had so many amazing guests, but I have to say probably Candace, because it was a very like surreal full circle moment for me to go from Candace being like, yeah, you should start a podcast. Well, no, that's not how the full circle goes. It started with me listening to Candace's podcast years ago and then reaching out to her about her coaching program and then getting invited to join her coaching program and going through all of that. And then down the road, discussing it with her, and then starting the podcast and then having her on as a guest. And so it was just so cool. I loved it. And she's just great. Most nerve-wracking moment. There was a lot in the beginning. There were a lot because especially when I started having on like bigger name people, and I'm this brand new baby podcaster and they're agreeing to come on my show. And one of them actually reached out and pitched me. And I was like, wait, what? Like, once people started reaching out to me, it was just very surreal. So I think I was most nervous to talk to Megan Ely. I don't know if you can tell how nervous I was in that episode, but I was definitely nervous. Also, talking to Heidi Thompson of Evolve Your Wedding Business I feel like she was one of my first like big guests. Yeah, I was nervous. So I still get nervous talking to people. Let's be real. Oh, and that Megan Ely episode, by the way, it's called Navigating Public Relations for Wedding Pros, and that's episode 25. And the one with Heidi Thompson was episode 16, Marketing Plans Made Simple. So highly recommend going back and listening to both of those if you haven't yet. And then the episode that surprised you the most, I think I would say my interview with Becca Mai. We talked about how to like audit your business for booking season. And I just thought it was such a good episode. Like I was not that I didn't think it was going to be great. I thought it would, but I was just like blown away with all of her ideas. And it was so practical and it just like inspired me and made me want to go do all the things. It was just really like timely with booking season coming up at that time. And yeah, I loved that conversation. Okay, the next one, favorite snack or drink while recording. Well, I think snacking while I record is a terrible idea, ChatGPT. So I'm going to say none on the snack. Drink is definitely going to be iced coffee. I almost always have an iced coffee, specifically cold brew, while I am podcasting, or just like water. That would be my next choice. That's not very exciting. Favorite behind the scenes blooper or fail? Blooper would be, I don't know if it's a blooper. Just this whole conversation with Olivia of Numa Films, like I had to edit out so much of it because we were just laughing and it was not usable at all. But she said this analogy that had me laughing so hard. And this is included on the episode. And that episode is number 40, by the way, if you want to go hear this, if you haven't yet. But her episode was all about like working together as a team on the wedding day and kindness and respect and all this great stuff. And she was talking about some vendors that she's worked with. And she was kind of equating how some vendors are like the girls on The Bachelor who say, like, I'm just here for Brad. Meaning like, they're like, oh, I'm just here for the couple. Like, I'm not really here to make friends or like, whatever. Like, they're just there for the couple. And her analogy and the way she said it just like killed me. It was amazing. So anyways, that's my favorite blooper, was just laughing super hard at that moment. Okay, here's another one. Favorite topic to talk about on the podcast? I would say this is kind of hard because I truly like talking about a lot of different topics. I know that I've done several on Instagram and social media. I enjoy those. But I would say the ones on like work-life balance, just because I feel very passionate about that. And that's one area where I want to help people the most to feel like they can manage their business successfully and their home life and their family. Like that's something I'm really passionate about. So I love talking about, and I don't even, we don't like the phrase work-life balance anymore. We know it's like a myth, but that idea, you know what I mean, of trying to run a business that you love, live a life that you love. I'll live that. And then I also just like talking about systems and how to make your business work for you and how to make it run better. I love talking about systems and marketing. I love it all. I don't know. I don't think there's too many topics that I don't enjoy talking about. Hardest part of podcasting you didn't expect. Ooh, that's a good one. I think just all the extra stuff. Like it's not super hard to prepare for an episode, to come up with questions, sit down with the guest, do the interview. It's also not that hard to edit it, honestly. I think editing is kind of fun. It's the extra stuff of having to then take the episode and make like a reel out of it to be able to share on Instagram and then have the caption for that and then have newsletter copy so I can share it with my newsletter. It's just like all the residual stuff that I need to do. Basically, I guess I would say the promotion of the podcast is the hardest part because it just takes a lot of consistent work. And it's really important to me because I want my podcast to grow and I want more people to know about it. And I think a lot of people still don't know about it. And so the promotion is important to me, but it is a little difficult at times because I also have my own wedding planning business that I am trying to promote and grow as well. One thing that's made podcasting easier. I would say, I mean, the main thing is just the program that I use to record my interviews. It's called Riverside. It is the best. Like I use it for recording interviews. I use it for editing everything. A lot of people like export it and use another program. I just edit everything in Riverside. Andrew does edit in something else, but for my portion for editing out content, that kind of thing, I do it all within Riverside. And then I can also make the clips and the little reels and that kind of thing directly in Riverside. So, and I can make it into YouTube videos. Like I can do it all just directly in Riverside. So I for sure would say that's the number one thing that's made it easier and more manageable for me. If you could go back and change one episode, which would it be? Oh, it would be the episode with Adriana where I didn't edit out all of my likes and ums. That's easy. Ooh, song you blast after a good episode. That's going to be anything Forrest Frank. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram at all, but I'm a huge Forrest Frank fan. Me and my daughter just went and saw him in Portland this past week, and his music is so upbeat and amazing. And I love it so much. So probably like Good Day by Forrest Frank or Your Way's Better, or he has a new one called No L's. Anyway, so yeah, definitely a Forrest Frank song. Okay, so that's going to wrap up my rapid fire favorites. Whenever I say something's going to be rapid fire, it doesn't end up being rapid fire, but that's fine. We're moving on. I said this was going to be short. It's not that short, but there's not that much left, and I'll try to power through it. But one of the things I wanted to do was like hot takes from guest interviews, like my top hot takes. And so I have, 6 that I'll share really quickly from various episodes. So the first one is from Dannison, who was on episode 42, and he talked about marketing and just like creating a sustainable marketing strategy as busy wedding pros. It was so good. And he said, if you aren't excited to market yourself, you might really need to revisit your whole business or your brand, because how are people going to be excited to work with you if you're not excited about selling yourself? And like, that's so good. And it's so true. And I think sometimes we just need to like say it like it is. And I agree 100%. Like if you are not excited to market your business, how are other people going to be excited about it? So love that reminder from Dannison. This was an older one. This was episode 29, Serena of Dandy Agency. We talked about marketing for wedding pros and social media, and she reminded us of the importance of marketing year round and not waiting until all of a sudden, oh my gosh, like booking season's coming up, and then you're panic marketing and you're doing all the things to like make up for the fact that you haven't been marketing. And so I loved her approach of, again, like it goes hand in hand with what Dannison was saying of a sustainable marketing strategy and being able to market your business year round. I think a lot of it ends up coming back to that. So that was a really good reminder as well. Another really good one. Well, they're all good, but episode 26 with Mimi of Wilder Social, she reminded us like to not worry about vanity metrics and that follower count really does not matter, and that you can have a totally successful business with a small following, and that some people who have really large followings are actually not successful and like not even paying their bills, even though it looks like they have this huge follower count. It doesn't equal money. It doesn't equal success. And we should not be focused on that follower number. Fun fact, too, is that I recently recorded another episode with Mimi that will be coming to the podcast very soon. So stay tuned for that. I love talking to her, and she's just so fun. And I always love hearing her takes on things. Another one from a very recent episode. This was episode 53 with Aislinn. we did kind of another mindset episode for Wedding Pros, and she was talking about the idea of market saturation and how it's something that's said often. And like even recently on Threads, I've seen people say, like, I used to believe that there was enough business to go around, but it's just not the case anymore. And the market is too saturated and all these things. And she explained how really that comes down, like it comes down to mindset. Like, do you really believe that there's not enough business to go around, that the market, like if you are competing with all the same people at the same price point, at the same level of service, like if it's all the exact same, okay. But if you're one of one, if you're standing out as an individual, you're only competing with yourself. Like you're not going to be competing with all of those people if you can set yourself apart. So I just think that's such an important reminder for us. And then I know I mentioned Taylor's episode before, episode 45. I loved this so much because I think it's so true. And she kind of brought up this idea of that, she hears people say, like, boasting, I find all my clients through referrals, or all of my inquiries come through Instagram. And they're saying it like it's a good thing, not realizing that that's actually like very dangerous. And that when something happens and that referral source isn't working for you anymore, like you're not going to have other ways for people to find you and to work with you. It's so important to diversify where our leads are coming in. And so we just talked a lot about, not putting all of our eggs in one basket and having multiple places that people can find you, whether that's SEO, referrals from venues and vendors, social media. Like there's so many different places that people can find you. Sites like The Knot and Wedding Wire and now Zola and Party Slate and all the different ones. Like there are so many different ways that somebody can find you. And it's important that you are in all of those places so that you have multiple touch points and multiple ways for people to find you. So those were my top hot takes from this first year of podcasting. And the last thing I want to end with, I mean, I kind of went off on this in the beginning and I wasn't really meaning to, but I just wanted to leave you with the encouragement that if you have wanted to start something, or if you've had an idea in your head, but you held yourself back because you felt like it was too scary, it was out of your comfort zone, you didn't have the time, any number of reasons that you have stopped yourself from doing it, I want this to just be your reminder that it's not too late. Now's probably the perfect time to take that first step. And if you start right now, then in a year from now, you'll be a year into it. And who knows what that could have brought for you. So don't keep putting it off. I also want to say the imposter syndrome is normal. And even as someone who has, again, been in the industry now for about 13 years and has like over 120 5-star reviews from clients and who has like a really solid reputation in my area, I still deal with imposter syndrome and I still wonder if people take me seriously. And even after podcasting for a year, I still ask myself, like, do I know what I'm talking about? Do people take me seriously? Am I an authority? Can I call myself an educator? Like all these questions that we have, even though other people might look at us and think, oh, that person has it all figured out, or that person knows exactly what they're doing, or whatever, you might look at somebody and think, they're probably questioning it all in their head. And I hate to say it because I want to be like, yeah, eventually the imposter syndrome just goes away. And then you feel confident 100% of the time and everything's great. But I am sorry to say, like, that's not true. I've talked to a lot of people and they have similar thoughts about still feeling imposter syndrome years later. It doesn't mean that you feel that way all the time or anything. It ebbs and flows. It shows itself in different ways over time. And there's areas where I don't feel it at all. And there's areas where I didn't feel it and then suddenly I do. And so it's just one of those things about life that we have to deal with. So don't let your imposter syndrome stop you from doing something that could be really amazing. Because if I would have listened to my imposter syndrome, I would have never started this podcast. I would have been like, oh yeah, I'm not cut out for that, because there's other people. Like, the main thing is that you compare yourself to other people. And so what I would do is I would be like, well, this person knows so much more than me and they don't have a podcast. So like, why would I think that I could start a podcast? And I'm kind of going through this right now with a digital product that I'm putting out. I've been working on it forever. It's one of those things that like I've had the idea forever, and it's just a matter of like doing the work and getting it done. But now I'm dealing with this whole side where I'm like, I'm not the best person at this. There's other people that could put out this product who are way better at it than I am. But the truth is that all you have to be is like a step or a few steps ahead of the people that you are helping. And so I had to remind myself of that like I certainly have enough knowledge and experience in this to create this product and to share it. And it's going to help a lot of people. It doesn't mean that I'm the absolute authority and the best person in the world on it. And that's okay. And so I had to remind myself that. And maybe you have something that you've thought about doing, but you're like, well, I'm not like the best. It's okay. There's people that need what you have to offer and need that product, need that service. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be like a couple steps ahead of that person. So anyways, hopefully that will help you. And I don't know if I can just cheer you on. Like, if you have an idea and you're scared to start it, like, you can DM me and let me know, and I can just cheer you on in that. And yeah, and I just want to be here to support you, to support my listeners, because you've supported me, and that's the least that I can do. So we're going to wrap it up. I knew this was going to end up being longer than I thought, but that's okay. Thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. We're heading into year 2 of the podcast, and it's only going to get better. I have more amazing guests coming your way. And if you want to be a guest, if you know somebody who would be a great guest on the show, let me know. I'm also going to be doing more solo episodes, mixing them in a little bit more, because I've been really heavy on the interviews, and I'm kind of going to get back to, in the earlier days, it was more of a mix between the two. And so I'm going to be getting back to that a bit. If you have any topic ideas, if there's anything that you want to hear on the show, please let me know. Shoot me a DM, email me, and I'd love to hear any ideas that you have. So with that, thank you again. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe to the show. I would love it if you would leave a review and just share your support in that way. It goes a long way, and it helps other people find the show. I think that's my biggest thing right now is I just want more people to be able to find it. Like, that's just a struggle as a podcaster, is like how to get your show in front of people. And so I know there are things like reviews that do help that. So that is one thing I will say. I would love any reviews. And also, the other thing I wanted to say too is, if you ever listen to an episode that you got something out of, if you could screenshot that episode and then share it on Instagram and tag the Event Crushed Instagram page, that would be beyond amazing. So, okay, well, that's it. I am just grateful for this first year of podcasting, and I am thankful that you have been here for it and that you've tuned in, and I'm excited for year 2. So here's to crushing it in year 2. All right, friends, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now get out there and crush it.